Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's episode number 134 of The Lumber Word, being recorded on the 13th of August, 2025. We're excited today because we have a returning guest, Chris Beard, Vice President of Building Products from John Burns Research and Consulting. Chris, welcome back to the show.
Great to be with you guys. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You bet. So you've been down, you said, at a few customers in the last few weeks, and you got a big travel schedule coming up?
Yeah, we'll be hitting the conference circuit starting in September. A few conferences. We got our internal one that we have for clients in New York in November. I'll be at the Building Component Manufacturers Conference, giving an education session there. It's going to be in Omaha this year, and just some various other events going on. So things are picking up. Everybody's trying to understand what's going on in the world.
Right on. And you said you're speaking at the BCMC, right?
That's right. Yep.
Okay. Good deal. What day is that on? Do you know what day you're speaking on?
That is third. I believe it's the 4th of October.
Where is BCMC this year?
Schedule right in front of me. It's right. It's going to be right after the. It's in Omaha.
Chris, yeah, Omaha, Nebraska. So what is new and exciting at John Burns, Chris, and what should we be looking to John Burns to help us all out with going forward here? Did you get us, Chris?
Greg's not the only one that has internet issues.
Things are breaking up on my end, but I'm back. I'm back now. You guys hear me?
Okay.
How is it that I live in the most rural place out of all of us, and my internet works 100% of the time when I get on the show?
You live a charmed life, Charles. That's all. God's chosen people. That's it.
Hey.
So, hey, just a couple of show notes. We picked up Greg some new pucks for Eero pucks, so his internet's going to be fast. And two, we picked up a new advertiser last week, which we'll announce when we start running their ads next week. So I'm kind of excited about that. So we had a little discussion before the show. You guys want to do market first or jump into? Let's start out with the market. Matt is not here, but I can talk about U.S. species a little bit. Greg and I
Matt's not here because he doesn't want to talk about U.S. species because he's afraid that if he speaks the truth, that somehow that will have an impact. I'm just saying. I love Matt, but Matt, we need you to just man up and say, "Hey, this is what it is. Come on, come back on, buddy."
We
saw an interesting phenomenon last few months where I think when we ran the charts of U.S. species versus spruce over years and years, that for the most part, U.S. species were a lot higher going into Chicago than spruce was. And what we noticed a few weeks ago was the big discount that hem fir was, and Doug fir and some other ones coming into Chicago. And two things came to mind. One, the people that look at the current futures contract either don't care or don't realize that hem fir was a deliverable species. Or two, there was too much countervailing duty, anti-dumping, and other things built into the market already and pulled that spruce price up. So we saw U.S. species kind of move.
All the above.
All of the above. So what I saw 4-inch today is still around 620 Chicago and coastal hem fir. I had secondaries offer me a little less than that last week, but it would be interesting to know if they're taking some big discounts like some of the other mills are taking on product to move. So Southern Yellow Pine, we talked about last week. Charles, we'll jump into you. We talked about Southern Yellow Pine having weakness. Print showed off a little bit. What's the real market trading at in pine? How cheap is stuff really getting done, like for big counters to mills right now?
I mean, I don't even know what to compare it to because I don't look at print anymore because it doesn't tell the whole story. We're in such a unique scenario just in a marketplace as a whole, with all of the species swapping and how commingled everything really is. And, you know, I think the board weakness, the spruce availability that's starting to rear its ugly head as far as what's in reloads, is really impacting what mills are able to get for FOB numbers, right? Because now you're competing in a truck market versus a car market because of the volume. So, I mean, when you start talking about levels and, you know, just print in general, I mean, print plus freight, print plus 15, print delivered. I mean, it's all over the place. It depends on what you're looking for and when you need it, right? And, you know, we're, as you described, Greg, one of the chosen ones at IFP, God's people. We're lucky enough to have a footprint to where we can buy it through any zone at any point, right? So it's real touch and go, and there's no clarity, there's no transparency at all as far as one mill to the next, and there's quite a bit of discrepancy between the two, depending on what you're looking for.
So if you don't need it, you get offered 20 or something. What's your bid?
If I don't need it, it's minus 20 on print delivered.
So it's like
Okay.
Probably
That
not
makes-
going to get it, but I also don't need it either, right?
Yeah.
So put some business together today at print plus, you know, half a freight, so plus 15. You know, you try to, with the relationships that we have, we try to be fair and not take everybody's head off the whole time. Kind of like some of the business that you and I transacted this week, Ash.
Can you hear me?
I had cheaper options as far as what I needed in spruce, but
Everything's cool. We got this right.
I'd rather do
I got
business with
kicked
you
out of
and
my
pay that
regular
extra
room,
$7, or $10. So I mean, I think relationships as a whole.
Hey, Matt, it's like when we started out, I said, yeah, Matt doesn't want to come in and tell us about what's going on in the U.S. West species. And then I said,
I can tell you what I learned in the last 2.5 hours. It's not very good.
I mean, that's what we need to know. I mean, that's what that's what people listen to us for, is to get that. It's like to get the real scoop. They get bullshit from all of the rest of the people they deal with every day, day in and day out. They come to the lumber word for, this is, truth seekers come here. This is where they come, truth seekers.
Let's like real quick. Let's circle back to Charles. We're finishing up. Matt Charles was saying that, you know, if you don't need it, you're countering 20 some bucks. If you do need it or want it, most pine is like minus 15 off of print, so to speak. So it's a little squishy. Does that make sense, Charles?
Very squishy.
Okay. All right. And Matt, back to U.S. species. What did you learn in the last 2.5 hours?
Are we live or not?
Yeah, we are.
Yes, we are.
Okay. I have learned that.
Thank God you asked that question right away.
I have learned that I picked a good time to go on vacation and a bad time to come back from vacation. So it's definitely quieter. We're having to go search for orders and negotiate a little bit on price here. So that's kind of, you know, the lay of the land. I don't think that's a surprise. I mean, I watched futures go down $70 in the last week and a half. That would tell everybody that they should have their selling hat on. That's not revolutionary idea there.
Yeah. Are you getting much feedback, or is the future sell off scared all the people that don't trade it into now pointing out the futures is selling off?
No, we're still selling lumber every day. And, you know, like I said, we just have to sharpen our pencils a little bit. The problem that I see, this is just a general observation, nothing to do with coming back from vacation today, but just in general, for the last several months, it seems like the inquiries that you get don't really match what the mills produce. And so I get inundated with trucks of 16s and 18s and 20s. Everybody wants to buy, you know, print plus 0 plus no freight. But I don't get very many people calling me up or emailing me, hey, I just need to buy a flat random. And so the mills are always struggling to move the bad lengths, right? The 8s and 10s. And that's a chore these days. But if you've got what they want tally wise, you can get orders for sure. It's just, you just got to dance a little bit.
So the index prices are saying that the market's unchanged from last week's prices. You know, if you're trading today, is it a $5 or $10? Is it a $20? Is it like a $50 under market?
If somebody offered me 20 off, I'd consider it. You know, I'd probably push back a little bit if it was prime lengths. Maybe I'd take 10, maybe 15. I don't know. But I mean, that's just my personal mindset. The mill guys have dropped their prices a little bit, like maybe 10 off the highs. And I think if, you know, I'm not going to speak for our mill guys, but I think if I called a mill and said, I want 10 off, they wouldn't even hesitate. And if I said I want 20 off, they might do it, but they might push back a little bit. That's kind of the market that I see in my few hours of sitting here this morning. What about you, Greg?
Do you have any insight into Western spruce yet?
Western spruce is in disarray. I mean, if mills have something they need to load, they're going to take today's price, which is yesterday's price or last week's price without the duty. You know, I mean, that there is no upsell for extra taxes. It's just, this is what it last sold for. We're going to have to sell it again at that price and just eat the extra cost. But if it's for the order file, they're going to quote you the fully priced, you know, 670, 660, 690 Chicago type deal. So I think they're of the mindset, and I've been told this not just from, you know, this isn't internal information. This is external information from sawmills that I have contracts with on spruce, that their attitude coming into August was that random lengths would naturally rise and they would be able to get some of that tax money back into their pocket. I don't know if that's really occurred yet or not, but that was their thought coming into August.
That's good.
I mean,
good for you, Mac. I can tell you in the
you want me
Eastern.
to talk about the East?
Well, I was just going to set it up by saying, you know, Eastern spruce. Kind of heard Greg talking to some mills yesterday. I've been talking to a few, and I'll set you up for this one, Greg.
Love it.
Matt, you notice we got him some new pucks, so his internet is great now.
I noticed he's not falling apart. Nice.
I mean, inside I am.
We just need to get you a microphone now because you have such a great voice.
So I know Greg and I we were looking at the price of lumber and the way we were selling through the lenses of being hedged. So 2 weeks ago, we weren't selling a lot, right? Because you're raising your price with futures. And, you know, that opened up in the last 7 trading days. And, you know, on the Eastern spruce side, there were some key items that traded up $50 a thousand off of the trade price, however you want to say it, on a few items. And there's some mills participating and some aren't, right? And I heard, Greg, you say to somebody, and I got up my desk and walked over, you go, I'm sorry that you feel that way, and I feel bad, but just because you raised your price to what the CVD and AD was, the market isn't just going to give you that because you want it. Is that kind of what
I said,
you said to them?
What I
you
said was
prefaced
the marketplace doesn't care about the mill's cost. The marketplace cares about the supply-demand equilibrium. And it's great that we have Chris on, because Chris is going to give us a lot of insight into the demand side, which I think is of the utmost importance right now. You know, we've been in a supply push market for the last, 18 to 24 months. And you know, the challenge with them is that they grind higher very, very slowly. And then when they fall with a real lack of liquidity. And that's what we experienced this back in March in front of the Trump, the first tariffs, when we were up in early April, when we were up in Montreal, and we're experiencing it right now. So in the East, there's a real dichotomy. There's a number of mills that, due to the fact that they sold all their inventory and then they were shut down for a period of time, have a level of comfort with being willing to build inventory for a period of time. Now, does that last another week, another 2 weeks, another 3 weeks? But those mills are not selling any lumber at all. You know, they continue to profess that, you know, they're getting Canadian market's been real good, which, you know, is wonderful. that's great. We have one of our mills that, we're only selling in the Canadian market. That's it. And so, but, the mills that are out looking for where the market is trading, they're trading at, pick a number, $40, $50, $60, $70 below, the index prices of the last week, 10 days, and those numbers are probably back to where we were trading 5-6 weeks ago on the things that, on the guys that say, hey, we're going to continue to sell lumber. The challenge that I have is all the people that aren't selling lumber and building inventory, that normally doesn't end very well. Does it, Matt? Does that end well?
I mean, I believe you should sell every day, period. Bottom line.
Amen.
End of story. How do you know what the market is if you're not soliciting business on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour business, right? I mean, like you've got to be, if you're sitting at your desk and you've got a phone and an email, you should at least have a 99% success rate in terms of what the price of your lumber should be. You should know. That's part of being a professional. I'm not going to lecture people. I'm just saying, like, that's what we do for a living.
Me right now, though.
Dude, we do it for a living.
Yeah, me too. I got my notepad out. You got any more?
I'm sorry, but I mean, this isn't revolutionary. I mean, literally, there's hundreds of guys on the phone and on the email and texting each other every single day. And all you got to do is reach out and ask for information. You can get it. I can find out everything I need to know with being 2 hours sitting in the chair.
I have a lot of people right now, Matt, that are like crawling under rocks. We've been, as Ashley indicated, when the duties went up, we didn't change our price. We continued to sell and scaled up and to try and find where the market was. Some prices we had to raise more because we were hedged, et cetera. Right. And then, once the basis came in, we're like, oh, okay, so we're free and clear, and we got much more aggressive in the prices that we were willing to take. And we continue to be that way right now in search of where the market is. But we got guys that are crawling under rocks right now, right?
Well, maybe they've been told by their boss to just put the PO book aside for a day or two. Who knows, dude? I got a Farm Beat sent the "I feel lectures too" response, so I guess I better soften my tone a little bit. Look, what I really mean to say is that this is our job. We're supposed to know what the price of lumber is. I'm sorry, I don't want to be a lecture guy.
So perfect example. Yesterday, we're still selling lumber every day. I sent back, how we all get the RFQs. Yeah. I sent back an RFQ, probably 30 trucks, and we've thrown numbers all over the place on them and got back orders that I didn't think I was going to get. And the ones I'm like, oh, there's no brainer, I'll get all these, didn't get them. And I know the person bought, right? And these were big discounts, so to speak, to the quote unquote print price, whatever it was. So there's still cheaper lumber getting flogged around there, or some of it may have gone Hemfer or some other.
This features how much inventory got built up over the 3 months in front of summer shutdowns and increases in the duties. How much inventory really got built up? That's the real question. And how long is it going to take to flush that? I think, Ash, it's a great time to talk about demand side and get some insights from Chris, because he's been very patient listening to our BS here. And as much as he loves us, he's here for a reason. Let's tee him up.
Well, good. I know Chris said he came back from seeing some people down south, and he's going to do the road show. So I'm sure he's getting prepared. And we went back and forth last night on different things to talk about. Chris, you had some great points. Like, all right, diminished single family starts coming up. That was one point. Where are they headed to? What did everybody project at the beginning of the year? What we got going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I think we started the year probably one of the more bearish forecasts. We figured 2025 was going to be down on the single family side. Multifamily, I think everybody thought was going to be down, which obviously has been. But the reason that we thought at the end of last year that single family was going to be down was just we saw the elevated levels of unsold inventory from the builders. The builders said, we got finished inventory, we're ready to move it. As we moved into the spring selling season, the traditional spring selling season, just didn't see a whole lot of movement. I think there was a perception from prospective home buyers that interest rates would come down, things would become more affordable. Obviously, the geopolitical stuff and the tariff stuff didn't help either. But the spring selling season was pretty much a dud. And so what we're hearing from the builders, and we've heard throughout this year, which caused us to revisit our forecast for this year, is that there's just no point in starting the massive amounts of single family when you still got finished inventory on the books. Obviously, spec inventory, there was a clear shift from the builders to want to manage more spec inventory. You get cost certainty, you know how much it's going to cost to build, then you can layer in your incentives, you know what the cost is going to be. But there just hasn't been a whole lot of home buyer movement in that. And so that's really caused a lot of the builders to slow down. We've picked that up in our monthly builder survey. We survey about 20% of new home sales each month, and that has really been reflective of the slowdown in starts. And then now we're in the slow part of the year anyway. Not a whole lot of homes traditionally get started in the fall. And as we're moving into that, we're just hearing commentary from the builders, and we've heard it on the public's earnings calls. They've been saying the same thing. But there's also a little bit of bifurcation. Some of the bigger ones, like Lennar, I think they said that they're just going to power through and keep starting and take share. Whereas you got others like Pulte and some of the smaller ones are saying, we're really going to slow our starts just because of the elevated inventory that's on the books.
It depends on the markets. I mean, do you have some regional breakdown into markets relatively strong, markets relatively weak?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Greg. It does depend on markets. But you also need to think like 75% of single family starts are in Texas, Florida, the Southeast, and Southwest, and California. And so, if Texas and Florida really take a step back, which they have, that's going to affect the national number. We're in a little bit oversupply situation in many markets in Texas. Florida is certainly, I think that's made the headlines that starts in Florida really down low. And it's not really a condition of nobody's moving there or migration or job growth, because job growth is still strong. Their income growth is still strong in these regions too. It's just a matter of a little bit of oversupply. Now, when the rest of the U.S. started to see the downturn in 23, Florida and Texas were still in the Southeast, were still going pretty strong. But now it's kind of caught up to them too. So we're seeing a little bit of an oversupply situation. And that's also leading to price declines. So, we haven't talked about new home price declines in a long time. I mean, I can't even remember when the last time was. And in these markets, we're seeing prices decline net of incentives. So builders are actually having to lower their prices to move these homes just because of the supply situation.
Hey, Chris, just a quick question on Florida. Is so it's state with one of the highest ages, and also a state with one of the highest second home market.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever track the second homes and see what's going on there? Are people not buying the vacation homes? Are they selling their vacation homes? Are they buying that house in Boca right now? Or
we do a study of real estate agents, and they actually ask that too, of how much is second homes, and we're really not seeing a lot of demand on the second home front. I mean, obviously affordability is the big thing. People that can afford the second home traditionally are a little bit less cash sensitive, less interest rate sensitive, but nevertheless consumer sentiment has been down. It's been creeping up. We had some stock market volatility earlier in the year that plays in people's psyche of like, do I really want to spend some money right now, or just want to hold on to my capital? And so, second home has been pretty soft for that reason.
Well, it's also
Matt,
really high beta.
I just have a question for Chris. So during the COVID years, we had a lot of migration. People exiting cities or exiting states, going to Florida or Idaho or Montana or Texas. Are you seeing the mobility dropping again to like below historical levels or about where it used to be? I mean, do you guys follow that kind of stuff in your analysis?
Yeah, Chris, where are the U-Hauls going to?
I think I said last time we don't do the U-Hauls anymore because it was imitated. But we do other things similar to that. So we got we got a little bit better model, I guess you would say, for migration. And Matt, to answer your question, it is kind of coming back to historical levels, but like I said earlier, like the migration to the Southeast, to Florida, Texas, that's still ongoing. So people are still leaving the cities, people are still moving into the Sun Belt regions. It just, what's happening in housing right there is really due to supply. But, obviously there's still people moving out of the Northeast, moving down south, the Sun Belt regions. California is, California's California. It's a huge market. The return to office mandate that we saw a lot of companies enforce is maybe having a little bit of an impact, but we're not at the huge boom levels that we saw in migration immediately following COVID, but it's not fallen off the cliff yet either.
So there's always positive when you look at some charts, maps of the United States, and they have different color codes. You see the South negative or slowing, but then you see pockets in the Midwest that are still rising in price, right? So why and how much is that picking up some of the slack in the Midwest and in the Northeast, in those areas?
Yeah, so new home markets in the Northeast are generally speaking stronger, just because of limited supply, but also it's a really small base. So from a percentage perspective, it seems a little bit higher. The Midwest has remained pretty stable, and I think the reason for that is it never really got overheated during COVID, and so it's just kind of been steady growth. We're still seeing price growth in new homes and in the resale market in the Midwest. They're relatively stable. The multifamily market, even in the Midwest, so markets like Chicago, Indianapolis, Cincy, Columbus, they're doing okay too. Again, not as impactful from an overall numbers perspective as the Southeast and Texas and Florida, but the Midwest has been relatively stable.
Do you feel like there's a sweet spot on like a new home pricing level nationally that helps drive sales? What?
Oh, it's that
question.
Yeah.
Oh, you took his question.
Sorry, Charles. Why don't you ask it?
No, go ahead. Lead the way, Pops. Lead the way.
That's okay, because I don't have an answer anyway. But sweet spot. It's the way I think about it is we've talked about affordability for the past several years. I know you guys have talked about it quite a bit too. And so we're in a situation right now where some new home price declines in many of these big markets. And so on the one hand, you want prices to come down to solve for affordability. But on the other hand, I guess the way to think of it is everybody wants deflation, just not in their own industry. Like we want eggs to come down, we want gas prices to come down, but we don't really want lumber prices to come down. We don't really want home prices to come down if we work in that industry, right? Because that means less revenue, which inevitably leads to bad things for people that have a job, right? So sweet spot on home prices, I think it just really is a matter of cost to income ratio, housing cost to income ratio. That needs to get more in balance. I mean, we're above 40% now.
So follow-up question to that, Chris. Since we talk about lumber and mills having to produce under the cost of production, where's the shutdown cost for big builders that said they're going to power through?
And that's just it, right? You hear, I think Lennar even said that it's better just to kind of go through and keep building versus stopping the engine and restarting the engine later. So I mean,
are they big? Are they big enough at this point?
The reality is their margins expanded so much during COVID that their margins are coming down, albeit slowly, but their margin now is still above what it was pre-pandemic. So, while I see so the inventory of new homes for sale is like, I think it's 1 million homes. That's still below the inventory of pre-pandemic. The price of a new home now is I think the median price now is $400,000. And to your question, like Matt, that new home out in South Carolina is in the high 200s, and that new home in someplace in California is in the 700-800s. I mean, that's kind of two different. If you're in Northwest Indiana, it's $270,000, and if you're in if you're outside of Austin, it's still 800,000, right? So I mean
I mean, Chris would be a good guy to ask if you've got young people looking to buy and start their life off in an affordable area. You know, where would you steer if you had a 24-year-old kid? Where would you steer them to start their life and go get a job and buy their first home? What areas of the country would you send them to?
I'm a little biased because I'm in the Midwest, but I think absolutely the Midwest. I think Midwest is just kind of kind of stable markets.
Midwest strong.
Not Chicago though, Greg. Nowhere near Chicago.
Yeah.
We're talking about Indiana and Ohio specifically.
Hey, they're coming after our mayor. They're coming after him.
Who?
Hey, so Chris, you said that you did the monthly LBM survey. What interesting, the LBM dealer survey. What did you get? What kind of feedback did you get on that?
Yeah, it's been. So we do this survey. We survey the larger independent lumber yards and building materials dealers around the country each month, and we get pretty much real time. I mean, it's so we just asked about their July results. So we're not even to the 15th of August yet, and we've already got their bookings for July. And it's been the story this year, up low single digits, down low single digits, kind of flat. So, to borrow your phrase, Greg, sharply sideways. That's kind of been how the market's been. A little bit of pricing in there. They certainly reported the price increases in dimensional lumber that came through in late July, early August, and now they've since retreated. But they give us indications on, orders by product categories. Lumber panels are obviously a big part of that too. And, they've been saying all year long, multifamily is really weak in a lot of markets. Production building has been really weak in a lot of markets. More strength from some of the remodeling companies, some of the, exterior contractors have been showing more strength. But in July, it also took a step back too. So it just kind of been.
That's an interesting number because, I mean, the statistics are multifamilies up 15% year to date from last year. I mean, that's, so, but it would, I guess you got to look at the breakdown does that mean it's high rises in big cities, right? Versus, townhouses in suburban areas or, apartments.
You got to look at cycle times too. It's a lot of units under construction too that aren't completed. Like you go down to Austin and you still see a lot of high rise construction, even though, rent growth is pretty terrible in Austin right now. Occupancy is down. But, you talk about 24-month plus cycle times for some of these high rises, that's going to affect it too. So completions are up, but starts are down.
What do y'all track the BTR at all?
We do, yeah. We have a group that's focused primarily on rental communities, but BTR is a big part of that too.
So what is your, I guess, your take on that? Is that kind of a shadowy bright spot in our industry considering, or what's kind of the data saying? Because I feel like in and I'll just use southern cities, right? The Charlottes, the Greenvilles, the Raleighs. I mean, those are probably pretty well hybrid. Hey, I want a house, but I don't want a lot to manage, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of an ideal scenario. But there's a lot of demand in what we do from that segment.
Yeah, and you're living in a great spot for BTR right now, Charles, and because Charlotte I think is the strongest from a growth percentage and rent growth is very strong. Carolina is obviously also impacted by migration into that region. The largest BTR market's Phoenix. There's a lot of supply and a lot of supply planned coming online too. Dallas, Atlanta, those are big markets too. And I think I was talking to one of our guys earlier. And you think about BTR starts, and if you take total starts, BTR tends to move more in lockstep with multifamily. So wherever multifamily starts go, BTR kind of goes with it. But you're looking at high single digits for total starts is related to BTR. So it's we're past the peak, what I'd call BTR starts phase, which 2024 was kind of the peak BTR starts. So we're moving past that. I think we're like down to 2021 levels right now. But it's obviously as affordability remains an issue, and you talk about home prices and affordability and, having enough for a down payment and then being able to service a 6-7% mortgage, BTR is still pretty attractive for a lot of them.
So Chris, these BTRs, these build to rent, what kind of deals do they get on big chunks of houses since it's not public when they trade, or are like what kind of discounts are they getting when they come in and just sweep a builder of all their houses?
I'm not sure about that one, to be honest with you, Ash. I'd have to look into that. I mean, obviously there's volume discounts with that too, but
Has to be, right?
Yeah, but then you've got you got a lot of builders like Horton that has a big BTR wing where they're building them themselves. So they're a home builder. They're selling for sale homes, but then they also have the BTR portion of their company too that manages that.
Yeah.
Got
Go ahead, Ash.
I was gonna. So you and I went back. Species swapping, southern yellow pine, spruce. Has that come up talking to dealers? Are you getting feedback on that?
Yeah, it seems to be the uncertainty with the duties and then the tariffs on or off. I had one dealer comment to me just this past week saying that it's SYP's kind of been on the verge of expanding market share, and now with the uncertainty in Canadian softwood lumber, it's probably going to have more importance. I don't think we've seen that in price just yet. But we are starting to see SYP spread a little bit more throughout the country and travel further up north and out west. Obviously for the component manufacturers, it's a big deal. And I think you guys said a couple of weeks ago, there's the builder preference to pay more for Canadian spruce. That still is, but how far can that go before it just doesn't make sense?
It ends up just becoming regionalized. Like, there's still a big market for Doug fir dry over in the Northeast, and they use green Doug fir in California. I mean, it just becomes more regionalized and nichey. And so those markets, like there's areas in Wisconsin and Minnesota that I've sold to for years. They're not going to switch to yellow pine. They're going to be spruce all the way. They want premium spruce. They want the highest, nicest quality stuff they can get, and they're going to pay for it. Their businesses are built that way, right? They're selling custom guys. They're not selling mass producers that are slabbing up $300,000 homes. So, but then, you go to Phoenix, you go to Dallas, the big production markets, big population bases, a lot of competition between BTR and multifamily and single family. Yeah, you gotta pay attention to your costs, right? And so that's where yellow pine is going to make their inroads. I'm curious if it'll stick or if it's just temporary, like on a long-term scale, like on a 5-year scale. I'm just curious. Like, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, but it's like this is a change. This is something new, and I'm kind of curious to see what happens on the back end here.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'll give you my my Back to the Future visionary sense of things. You can't turn time back. And I mean, the reality, and this is, I work for a Canadian company. We own sawmills. The reality is the economic factors are really tough for Canadian lumber producers, and Canadian lumber's share of the U.S. is going to continue to fall. I think that there's going to be markets where it'll still be relevant, but Ashley and I had this conversation yesterday. I mean, we're big basis guys. We look at historical relationships, and we work under the whole assumption that reversion to mean. And I've come to the conclusion that I'm throwing that all out, because the structural change in supply of lumber is going to drastically alter that relationship. Pine production is up.
I think we just broke news.
No, I'm just saying.
Literally did breaking news. Greg Riley is going to trash 30 years of his lumber knowledge.
Hey, everybody, and I'm going to come up with the next 30 years, brother. That's the way we roll. We're going to use AI to reinvent the whole basis conundrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I walk around the office all the time. Actually, what do I say? Basis works, right?
Yeah. No doubt. And I mean, it's a big, like, it's hard to look at that, but you got to be part of that change. Otherwise, you lose.
Spruce is a preferred species, and it's still going to have a place in a lot of markets. But it's no longer going to be the dominant product. And I mean, it's going to consistently be, like as more and more builders and more home centers take more and more yellow pine, that is going to support that price at a higher level than it is. And, what's the appropriate premium now for, 2x4 spruce? We're talking to end users that are saying, hey, we're going to switch over to yellow pine studs, but there's not enough yellow pine stud production. So we're going to buy saws so we can cut it all up because it's a $200, $1,000 difference. I mean,
Charles, you're the yellow pine guru.
What's the 75% of starts below the Mason-Dixon line? Those are the markets where it's going to happen. We talked last week about home centers switching from U.S. whitewoods to southern pine. That's going to continue, and it's going to accelerate into next year. It's going to accelerate. I mean, if you're not a yellow pine trader, trader at this point, you might as well, you want to be thinking about what the pasture is going to look like. I'm telling you, all you, Matt, as you say, all you young traders out there, if you trade spruce,
well, if you were reincarnated, Greg, as a 25-year-old rookie, would you start out in spruce or would you start out in yellow pine if you had to start all over again?
Pine is fine. I
mean, where's the opportunity?
Fine, this guy says.
Pine is fine.
Charles, question: Why has not everybody south of the Mason-Dixon line switched over to yellow pine too before number 2?
Because
why not?
Change is
we've always
hard.
done it this way, Matt.
Change is hard.
We've always done it this way. Your generation, actually, if I was being honest, y'all's generation. Full disclosure.
Yeah, I mean, I think
he's blaming the white-haired guy.
He just called you an old fart.
I am an old fart. I just turned 58.
Oh God, you're a young kid.
I'm definitely
you're years older than
no,
me.
seriously. I mean, it's a serious question.
I don't know. I can't answer that question for you because I mean they carry both. I don't know why they don't exclusively use.
I mean, are there quality differences between yellow pine and spruce? I mean, I don't get it. It's like if I ran a lumberyard, I would try to find a reason to go to yellow pine.
Nobody likes change. That's the biggest thing.
To save $200.
That's the biggest thing. Nobody likes change.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt, I'll give you a prime example. What's a 2x69 Doug First stud delivered Dallas right now?
I don't know. High 500s.
High 500s. I can deliver 2x69 number 2 Southern Yellow Pine into Dallas for $427 tomorrow.
I mean, your phone should ring off the hook when we get done when this gets out, when this gets spread wide.
So, I mean, but people, just as you and I have gone eloquently bantered back and forth, Doug Fir has a historic stronghold in Texas, and people don't want to use pine because they've always done it with Doug Fir. I blame it on your generation.
Yeah,
And
I think there's
the new hires, hey, we're not using anything else but Doug Fir. Yeah, but wait, hold on. I can save $4,000. What is that?
Yeah.
Say 140 times 24, $3,300 a truck, and we need 20 of them.
Yeah, I mean, what I've heard is perception.
$67,000, Mr. Bossman. I just paid for my salary in one.
I think Chris wants to say something. Let's hear Chris out.
Yeah, I mean, what I've been hearing from the dealers and from the framers themselves is there's just a perception that's harder to work with. There's more waste because it's knotty and twists and turn. And so I think a lot of it's, Charles, you're not wrong. It's old habits die hard. And so at what point, and I don't know the answer to this. You guys
can you say that again? I had you on mute. I couldn't. What'd you say? You said it right. Matt, write that down, Daddy. Papa Matt.
Well, the interesting thing is one of the largest major national builders has switched over all of their consumption south of the Mason-Dixon line plate all to southern pine.
Yep.
100%. And the yards are like, hey, there's no calls, there's no returns. And you know what? They've been doing it now for 2 years. They were out in front, ahead of the curve. And so as one goes, then eventually more will.
So basically, we're having the same conversation here. The reason that people should be switching is because it's the cheapest item right now.
Well, I mean, historically, it's the cheapest item. I mean, it's the lowest cost.
Well, but
You
okay, so if
know-
everybody starts using it, if everybody starts using it, it won't be historically the cheapest
I
anymore.
don't know. You look at the timber stand we have in the Southeast. For every day that we cut lumber in the Southeast, I think we've got an extra 3 days of standing timber left. So if people such as the Hamptons in the world wanted to come in and say, okay, I want to build another sawmill and I can get my break even down to $290, right? And then all of a sudden you have more greenfield investment, and some of these guys that did it a couple of years ago get their money back, right? They'd want to do it again because their other investments aren't paying any dividends. I mean, it's all about ROI on cash flow. So we have a natural resource below the Mason-Dixon line that, quite frankly, at the juncture that we're in, we are outgrowing trees to production at a huge clip. Yeah. So there's plenty of raw material to satisfy the need to keep it within a realistic price point. But the other thing is that spruce and Doug fir aren't going to go away 100%, right? Just like previously to one of these majors switching to all pine plate, they carried that their dealer carried both spruce and pine. Maybe they used wide pine, narrow spruce. Now they just put it all together and it's one bucket, right? But you're always going to have the commingling. I don't think that's
well. They haven't completely gone to all 100% yellow pine either. Those yards that Greg are talking about are still carrying some spruce. So now here we do have.
That's my point.
We do have some precedent for this glacial change, and it goes back to the 90s when I first started out in the business. We used to sell car after car after car after car. In fact, I started my career out selling yellow pine 5/8 CDX and 3/4 TNG in Florida. I don't know if you knew that, Charles, but I used to sell a lot of yellow pine.
What year was that? What year was that?
94 through say 99.
I was 7 and 12.
Late 90s. I for a neophyte. But I used to sell a lot of yellow pine. We traded a lot of yellow pine plywood. And we also trade a lot of Doug fir, 1/2-inch 4-ply and 5-ply into the Northeast, into the Midwest. And this is when OSB was still a relatively new product, right? And there was a lot of builder concern about quality, and guys were just stuck in their habits of buying fir or yellow pine plywood because they viewed it as a higher quality product. Well, over the last 30 years, the quality concerns of OSB have dissipated, and pretty much the market has completely shifted over to mostly OSB now. And, you know, plywood's more of a niche product now than it's ever been in my entire life. It used to be the mass majority product, plywood was.
But people still
OSB was the niche.
Point, right?
The point I'm trying to get to is
I was trying to push you up
until we can get the yellow pine perception of quality to meet or exceed that of Doug fir or spruce or even hemlock, people are going to be hesitant to make a complete and 100% shift over to yellow pine for plate stock. Because that's the thing, the 2x4 and 2x6 is the least stable of your products. It's the one that's most inclined to twist or curl or have those types of issues.
I'd put 6-inch pine against anything. Leave it outside.
I mean, I have no problem with that.
I'm just going to let you know. I just want to come out here, guys. Hey, 5 years from now, you know, if pine now is low 40% of U.S. consumption, you're going to be 50 to somewhere between 50 and 60% of U.S. consumption will be Southern pine at the expense of everything else.
Yeah.
Cannibalizing itself. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I make that makes so Southern yellow pine needs a Super Bowl ad is what they really need.
Starring Greg Riley.
Hey, let's get the advertiser right here. Advertiser right here. You know what? I think all of the Southern Pine Inspection Bureau, the Southern Forest Association, they should all be advertising here. Yeah, there you go. There's a futures contract too, as a matter of fact.
So Chris, I found this
contract, I might add.
I found this interesting, what you said. The dealers are forecasting slight moves up in dimensional lumber for the year, but not OSB or engineered wood. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take the other side of that trade, probably, right? Like, it's interesting. It's interesting to me how people pick an item that's already moved pretty good and one that's almost on its cost of production or down near the bottom and don't think it's going to move anymore, right? Or what was the feeling on that?
I think the sentiment on that is really just looking at the starts demand. I mean, you get some dimensional that's going to go into R&R space, and we can argue the percentage. I don't think anybody quite honestly knows what percentage dimensional goes into the R&R space. But you're right. I mean, we've had some price volatility on the dimensional side. Back to January, then it came down obviously in May, pretty low, and then back up, and now it's coming back down to earth too. So I wonder how much of that perception is just due to recent pricing versus taking the overall look and demand. I mean, it's what we ask them on board feet too, and they're saying in board feet it's kind of the same story with the overall orders, up and down, low single digits. Nothing really to write home about, and it's we're going on year 2 or 3 of sideways movement on dimensional. So they're thinking maybe a little bit of revenue increase, primarily price driven from the highs that we had earlier in the year and then now. But I don't see how OSBs can get much lower than it already is. And I say that and I'm probably placing a bet.
Oh, so that means there's like another $50 of downside probably there, Chris.
Probably because I just said it, right? Yeah. Yeah. You want the other numbers
So hey,
too?
I want to look at one thing. So Ash, you started out talking about the Hemfer, Dougfir, and futures prices, and I see the futures prices currently $610 for September, and I think we said, Matt, what did we say? Hemfer, Whitefir delivered Chicago, 615, 620 ish, maybe.
Yeah.
Spruce's ask at 650 something, right?
Or higher,
ask. Definitely. There's definitely plenty of asks that are higher. Where will the price of those products be on September 15th? What do we think?
September 15th.
September 15th. What do we think? Do we think
expiration? Yeah. I think spruce will be below Hemfer by probably $10 or $15. I don't know what the actual number will be.
What price will it be?
Greg wants some accountability here. Ashley wants to write it on the whiteboard in the office, so you got to walk by it every single day.
That's it.
615 to 620 on spruce, and probably I'm going to say Hemfer will be the same or $10 higher.
Are you saying delivered Chicago?
Yeah.
I say 605. I'm going to take a flyer.
Hemfer expiration.
Yeah. Go, Charles. I want from the mouth of babes.
Just because that's kind of a stretch. I think that it's still going to take some time for this to play off before we have if we're going to have any curtailments, or there's still, like Greg the other day you were saying, there's probably 30 to 60 days left before anybody makes any announcements like that. Could be wrong. That means they'll come out this weekend, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done on moving volume that's sitting up at mills right now.
I'd say expiration at 605. And I don't think you have to worry about curtailments right now because there's too much lumber and reloads as far as spruce goes.
Matt?
I disagree with all of you. I say 640 to 650. That was my theory all along, was that we would.
What are we betting?
I'll bet you a Big Mac meal. How's that? That's like $190
I'm going to
now.
blow your mind.
No, my theory being that, we had a 600 was kind of the old cost of production. Now 700 is closer to the new cost of production, and that the market would absorb about half of that. And I'm just going to stick with that theory. I think that there will probably be some curtailments between now and September 15th. And I just think some people will get caught short, and you'll probably see a 640 to 650 level on the close. That's just my gut feel bet a bunch of money on it, but I mean,
585.
585.
What's your
585?
What are we going to do?
Mark all this stuff down. Mark it down.
What happens if the pine guy's right?
I was trying to remember what I said September would expire at like 2 months ago. So I got to go back and look at that.
What?
But so you're saying 585, Matt's saying 645, 650, and Charles, what do you say?
605, he said.
Okay.
And you said
Chris, what do you say?
You said 615.
Yes.
I hate to say it, but maybe I don't hate to say it, but I'm probably more in Camp Greg. I'm just wondering how much is
Okay, Chris, you're not coming on anymore.
No, hey, Chris, it was great having you as a guest. But
Hey,
I'm
hey,
just
Ash,
wondering-
with those fancy internet pucks, did you happen to leave him a handsaw to get through that door back there now?
No, I got him. I got him the 3 pucks, and he came in and said, "Hey, can you get me 2 more?"
No, I was talking about
So
now.
he's gonna have.
Chris said Greg just went like this. Boom. See, I was right. We'll see. But we got to bet something. What are we going to do if the Pine guy's right?
we lost Matt.
Hold on, I lost Matt. I got him. I got
Oh,
Matt. Matt's
okay.
back.
I thought he got mad at me for being
Right,
tipping the
I
scales
think
here.
Matt, we
They-
thought that
he
you
moved
just
room.
like
He's
you just
back.
went, I can't listen to this anymore. I'm out.
Well, no,
Blew out for a second there, Matt.
I mean, it's locked over here. I don't.
You gave me a hard time last week. Right back at you. Karma. It's a bitch.
So here's my
hey,
rationale, and you guys can help me think through this. You know, how much of the price run up came immediately following, or right on the heels of the summer shutdowns. Now we lost Greg, and
Nope, you lost Matt again, but he'll be back.
you had the summer shutdowns, typical that happens in the summer, and then this price run up. And so is there thinking like, oh, well, it was just is there maybe flawed thinking of there's just not enough supply in the system, and that caused the run up in addition to the duties? I don't know. I mean, I'm just
Yeah, well, I mean, to your point, 1st of July, the price of the 2x4s was under $600. It was $595. I mean, that was on July 1st, 6 weeks ago. So,
Yep.
It's not, I mean, nothing earth shattering about, what my projection is. What's earth shattering is just how clouded everybody gets with all of the noise in the marketplace.
Now, I will say this, though. Matt's claim as far as the market absorbing half of it long term, I think that has a likelihood of being true and a norm, right? I agree 110%. But I think there's a lot of work to do between now and September 15th for liquidity to kind of either be created falsely via price or
And that gets back to my point about like basis and things changing. When we look at the first half of next year, things are going to look so much differently based on, hey, how much absorption in the marketplace does Southern Pine displace? And how big is that transition over the next 6 to 9 months? And what happens to spruce production? I mean, if spruce production doesn't change, then it's going to be different than if it does, right? The spreads will be wider if there's a significant drop. If I'm completely wrong, then the spreads will come back together. The whole market's going to grow.
so basically you win either way. You're either right or you're right.
I love when that happens.
That's basically what the hell you just said.
That's like
called-
when
that's
the
called a-
hedging in Montreal says, and I go, no, we want to lose money on our futures contracts, and then he goes, no, because the more money we lose on futures, the more money we make on cash, and he's like, no, I want you to make money on both. I'm like, okay.
Well, listen, guys. I mean, it's been great. Chris, how do people get a hold? Give us a little plug. How do they get a hold of John Burns, you, and sign up?
Yeah, our website is jbrec.com, so jbrec.com. My email address is chrisbeard, CHRASBEARD @jbrec.com. I'm on LinkedIn. You can message me there too. So we have a contact form on our website too. There's ways to get a hold of us, and I think a lot of your listeners are going to be at BCMC. I'll be speaking there, so feel free to stop by and we can chat then.
Chris,
too,
I love having you on as a guest. When Ashley told me you're coming on, I go, that's great, man. He's awesome. He's got lots of good stuff, and that's not just because you agree with me. But yeah, exactly.
Helps, right?
And so we got that too.
It always helps.
Well, thank you.
All right, guys.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right, boys.